Well, I've been a member of this church since 1955.
Well, I'll put it like this. I joined in 1956, so now you figure.
Oh, it feels great. I have wonderful memories, and so many great things in my life have happened at this church.
At CME Temple in 1961.
Well, we needed
61, I believe it was 62. But anyway, when I joined the church up there on the Reverend Thomas, and when I joined the church on the Reverend Thomas, I told them that they asked me about it, and I wanted to tell them. I told them that I joined the church and joined the usher both the same night, because I told them, I said, I want to be a usher. And Mr. Shannon Ross come from the back and run down there and got me and told me he on the board right now.
Yes, we have 5 generations that have grown up in this church. My grandfather was born in the 1800s. My mother was born in 1914, and myself born January 29, 1951. And then I have 2 daughters who grew up in this church, Rashonda and Carla, and they're still here. And I have 3 grandchildren that have grown up in this church, and they're still here. And it's 5 generations.
The doors, the entrance is closed at this moment. And it will be closed until we officially open the doors. And we'll do that symbolically through this ribbon. And we've asked certain representatives of the church to be a part of this ribbon cutting ceremony. We will begin with Hunter, what's your last name, Hunter? Reed, one of our youngest members. We will also have Sister Cross, what's your first name, Sister Cross?
Katie.
Sister Katie Cross, our older or oldest member. Our oldest.
Most beautiful.
Most senior. Our most senior.
Well, it was so important to me, and I was so happy. We had left CME Temple over on the old Peabody over there, and then we got one over there on Greenwood Road. And I was just, I had enough of it. And when they said we was coming in here and the ribbon cutting here, it's, what's the name of this street? St. Bernard. Yeah, I can't pronounce it, but y'all have to help me out with it. And when they had that ribbon cutting on, I was just as happy as I was if I was eating a steak. And I'm just enjoying life, yeah, and I enjoy it to the highest.
Be ready.
Right now. Nope, they didn't get it. They straightened it, got it straight.
All right. Amen.
Now, my brothers and sisters, let us see if we can open up the church.
Church, my fondest memories, and I'm going way back, is when I joined the church under R.C. Thomas. He was a very, how can I say, in my eyesight, exciting person to be around. He was always full of energy. He had the whole church, but especially the young people and children in mind. We always had 3 days a week program going on geared to the youth and young children. and that encouraged me to join under him.
This Williams Memorial CME Temple is a church that's very progressive in nature. It consists at one time of a lot of professional people, teachers, doctors, lawyers, and those who are in the professional areas, but there are also a lot of common laborers at the church. Most of them lived in the city, some in outlying areas, but most of them were from the surrounding areas of the church.
Well, I've seen a lot. I've seen the older members come and go and pass away, and I know the things that they left behind and the people that they left behind. And I know all the members of this church, and I know all the older members that were here when I was growing up.
Our family history goes back to my great-grandparents. So that's my mother, my grandmother, and her sister, and my great-grandmother and grandfather on my mother's side. My great-grandmother was from Blanchard. My great-grandfather was from Alden Bridge. And so how they got together, we have no idea. But they married, and they had 2 daughters, and they moved to Lakeside, the Lakeside community here in Shreveport. And the closest church to them when they moved here, or the preferred church for them, was the CME Temple.
Well, one of my really fond memories, we used to have what was called the Lincoln Tea, and we'd have a big parade, and we were the only black church, any black anything in the community that had a parade. Every year we used to have the Lincoln Tea Parade, and we would go from downtown and all the way to Booker, Washington on Milam Street, and we'd have a big tea. And one year I was Miss Lincoln, and James Jr. Johnson was Mr. Lincoln, and we rode on a buggy and pulled by some horses going down the street, and we were in full costume.
I think having a strong church in Shreveport or any community is, I guess, like the foundation for especially the black community.
I think it's critical to have a black church in the black community. Our culture, our rich heritage, all rest in our communities. And what I'm finding is happening is we're moving out in the suburban, we're moving away from our history.
Well, it's always been important to have a black church in the community, period.
We're getting everything in the communities but churches. We need a black church in this community. We need it.
Facts tell us the most segregated time in the United States, period, is at 11 o'clock. Black folks on their side, white folks on their side. And so, having said that, not that it was the right thing to do, but it is what it is. Black folks and black churches, period, have been the cornerstone of so many avenues for young black kids. You get a start.
Well, it's important for the youth to be inspired by the way I am, because I feel like the church is just like it's like a family. So when you go to them, if you need help with some things, school-wise or just life-wise, you can go to them if family members will help you.
Because again, that's our place of refuge. That's how we seek help, we seek comfort or counsel. Because for the longest, and as far as I know, or as far as I've been taught, the black church is a place that we go, like I say, for counsel.
I think it's necessary. Some people really don't get a chance in their mixed groupings to do as much as they'd like to do. And sometimes in the black church, especially the black church, I think we give people an opportunity. We see talent, we work with it, whereas in some situations, only those persons who push forward real fast get to do the things. Whereas we look at all of the individuals and look at some members and try to help them to, oh, you can do it. All the encouragement. The encouragement is so great in the black church, I believe.
It's very important because the significance of really survival in the black community. A long time ago is what we did. The church was the center of the community, and it's where all of the meetings took place and everything else took place. It all went through the church because that's all we had. And being a community church, being community minded, need to be a place where people can come and people can get some healing in some of the problems and things that they go through today, that they encounter today.
And I've been a member of the temple. I'm 34 now, so 34 years. I joined, I think at the age 12 or 13, I accepted my calling. So yeah, I've been in the church all my life, man. I mean, it's easy to say that, walking here is welcoming just because, we want people to be here. We're supposed to want people to be here. A church is a place where you seek refuge. You come and you get your nourishment, from the word, but at the same time, this is a place where you come to help people. So at least for me, when I walk into these doors, I'm always looking to come in, if I can help someone, I can in any capacity.
This church is one of my first experience of an annual conference. In the Christian Methodist Episcopal Church, we have annual conferences where pastors are assigned, bishops are appointed, officers are placed. And so this church has a rich history of annual conferences when I was a child with my grandparents.
Today, we celebrate the acquisition of a very wonderful edifice, a new church home for the Williams Memorial CME Temple. This is something that we have looked forward to for many, many years, and God has blessed it to come to fruition on today.
Okay, we were at the old church, the original CME Temple, as far as I know, that was built in 1903. This is the second phase of this building. Around 1933, we had to rebuild because of a fire. This church, I was hoping we would still be serving out of it, serving the good Lord out of it. But the powers that be at the time, vision was a little bit older than mine at the time. Not only mine, but some of the other members. I feel that we could have saved this building, but as you can probably tell, it is beyond our financial ability to restore it to its original grandeur. Okay, now this is what we call the Butler Street side, which is the east side of the building. I showed you on the other side where the door used to be that matched that one just around the corner. We had two double doors over there just like that. And we had a small foyer there. And you can see we still have the same style stained glass windows here. At the time, this was one of the most modern additions to a church in Shreveport, I would dare say. A lot of people would come by, all colors and genders would come and look at this church and awe at it. And we were very proud people at that time. Although I was young in high school, I think I must have been about 16 or 17 years old. All of this coverage overhead and all this was new. Usually when we have a conference, this area over here, we had sliding doors, and we would set the bishops and all the dignitaries on that side. 250 people in here, not counting what was up in the balcony. And as you notice, we were one of the first churches to have an elevated choir stand that was behind the up above and behind the pulpit. On each side of that big opening there, and on each side of the choir, female choir room on that side for changing. Males were on this side over here. And it was more of a pleasure than a financial gain, because I was proud of what I did. But As I said earlier, sometimes the powers that be does not have the, how can I say, can't see the future. We could have been preserved, but it didn't happen. So that's spilled milk. We're done with it now.
When I was sitting in the service, well, even before then, I was up here and the choir was rehearsing. And this building is a flip of what our original building was. The choir stand is behind us. And because of the vault of the ceiling, the sound was just magnificent. You would have thought that there were 30 or 40, 50 people in the choir, when in reality it was probably 20.
I believe 150 years old. But today's celebration simply centers around being able to acquire this new facility here as a new place of ministry and home for the members of that congregation.
I think the layout is great. I mean, even just walking up, driving up, you have a church that sits on the hill, seeing what we have and recognizing the things that we can do with all the space that we do have. Because I remember even back at the old 1501 Peabody, like we had like a little slide outside, and even me as a kid, we really shouldn't have been playing on this slide because, man, when I say it was rusted, probably should have got a tetanus shot. But yeah, like seeing that and what we have now, you know, we still have that playground. It's a little up to date, a little more up to date, and I don't have to worry about my kids, you know, catching any diseases or anything like that. But just seeing the grounds as a whole, you know, and realizing that, you know, we're blessed, that we were blessed, you know, with what we were able to get. Even with the acreage in the back, you know, we still have room for growth, whether it's parking spaces or adding another building or whatever the case is.
For many years, I lived not too far from here. So when I would be taking my son over to my mother's, when I would be on my way to work, before 220, we would come down Yarborough Road and turn and come around by this church every day, Monday through Friday, on my way to drive him, take him off to my mother's. And we would look and see this church up here on the hill. And I think it's a beaconing. It stands, and hopefully we can do things to draw people to it.
I was born in this church is what I say. And, you know, my children were baptized here. I got married here. And until I went into ministry myself, this was home. And it still was home even after that.
I'm sure you'll be following the escort.
Yeah, you don't get out of it.
Do a little CC.
And not we ourselves. Serve the Lord with gladness. Enter his gates with thanksgiving, and into his courts with praise. For he is our God, and we are the people of his pasture, and the sheep of his hand.
I was here then. That was the grand opening, so to speak, and the consecration of the new facility. I was a part of that.
So yeah, how important was that?
Well, it was really important because we moved from an old era, to me, to a new beginning. This facility represents now what the temple represented when it was first established.
It was 1501 Peabody Street. It was completed in 1903 at the staggering cost of $20,000. Here is the cornerstone of that historic church we all know and love.
of life that the Lord has been holding for me against that day. Work hard in this place, for there's another place, and a crown is waiting for you in that other place.
I would say have a united effort. First thing we've got to do to be a successful church is be on one accord. We can't have 4 or 5 different people thinking 4 or 5 different things. If we're all not attacking the problem as one unit, we lose. So if we said, okay, we need to have a daycare, Head Start, or whatever you want to call the program, the whole church has to unite behind that situation.
I feel wonderful. As a matter of fact, I was hoping those houses and people passing by would stop sometime and come in, and see what we're doing and all. Just because we're here and everything, that don't mean we're not doing anything, but we're trying to get things done. So I just wish more, like I say, they come and people passing by and everything, just come and see for yourself. Come and see for yourself.
Well, I would really like to see more young people in our church. I can remember back when I was growing up in the temple, I often tell someone, it was so many of us, sometimes our Sunday school classes were broken up into the 7th grade boys and the 7th grade girls because it was so many of us. And just to see the numbers that we would have, I would love to just see that happen again in church. And I know that many of our young people are not remaining in Shreveport. They're going and finding jobs in other locations. I have a son. My son lives in Dallas. He went to school in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. He went to TCU and he got a job there and he's remained there. So I would love to see more young people become involved and come to church and bring their children.
Today, you have young people from age, I say 16 to 28 years old. They're leaving the church rapidly. And they're leaving the church when, if you don't have anything to do, you're going to leave. There's an old saying that Burnham and Bailey came out with years ago, if you build it, they'll come.
I think it's going to take the older generation understanding that there are new ways that young people worship. And I can even remember as being a youth and a young adult that the way that I wanted to worship was different from the way that my grandparents worshiped. And so I think we're going to have to understand that and be open to that. The type of music that we began to sing when I was in the youth choir and the young adult choir was different from the traditional hymns and anthems, and I love hymns and anthems.
It's very important. And I say that for 2 reasons. First of all, the young people can learn from the wisdom and the counsel that the years have taught the older persons, older members of the church, and there's a lot that they can share that will help direct them along life's way. And the older generation can, as it relates to the younger person, they can kind of begin to understand their interests, the culture of the young people, some of the things that they could appreciate having in the church that usually they don't have for young people at the time. So I think when you start sharing ideas, young people can share their thoughts and ideas and their concerns with the older ones and vice versa.
Young people now, with most people that join now, you have to offer something. We're in competition with the world. And if you can't offer as much or more than the world offers, you lose. I look at a lot of churches now that are successful. They have youth programs. They have youth, under teenage, young adults, and senior programs. Something that attracts people in each one, single groups. All of these things now are necessary. We have to make an investment in the people who will then turn around and make the investment back into our churches.
I hope to see it grow, and I hope to see we have a daycare up in here maybe someday, and I hope to see us have some outreach programs for the youth and young adults, because we had that when we were children, and I hope to see that, that continues down the line. But we got some good people up in this church, really, really good people, and I don't see any reason why it can't happen.
First established at 1501 Peabody, it was totally something new. It was totally something different. And when we moved into this facility, it has the potential to just blow up with things that you can just dream of. One of my aspirations is to start a community garden. We're sitting on 9 acres plus property. There is so much we can do.
For one, recognizing that there are differences that lie amongst the older generation to the younger generation. There's always change. And the biggest part about change is acknowledging that, change is gonna happen regardless, whether you accept it or not. And in order to, continue that cycle, you have to acknowledge that change and be welcoming of that change. It may not be comfortable, but change is always good. You have to have change in order to continue to grow.
Just by trying to get them up and tell them to come with me sometimes. So I feel like that's something, because I know sometimes they just stay at home while I go to church, and they need to get some of the stuff that I'm getting into their life.
Because if you don't recognize that you need change, then it's almost a little stubborn to, think that you're gonna grow. Change is inevitable.
The church is evolving. Society is evolving. Things are changing daily. So they said, well, the church is going to change too. Sure, it's going to change. It's going to change because times are changing.
It can be subtle changes of, just a gradual change. It doesn't always have to be, jumping off into the deep end, but, just like I say, recognizing that change is going to happen, and, you want to be on the positive end of the change.
Yeah, sometimes I try to sugarcoat to be like, there's going to be food after a while, so if you come, you can come. But like, if they don't want to come, I can't force them, but I'll just be like, well, next time we can see if you can come.
Well, I just think that we just have it's a great potential we have now. Of course, there was sadness leaving the old facility down on Peabody, but everything in life changes. So we accept this and we move on. It's a beautiful facility, but I want it to be more than just a building. I hope that we can find ways and programs so that we can be a magnet.
We just give God praise and honor, because it was through Him that we were able to accomplish what we've accomplished today. And we hope and trust that we can honor Him by being more effective in our ministries to the people that He's entrusted to our care.
We need a place where we can come and fellowship. And so I pray that ministries will develop in this community and that this church will become an anchor for this community.
Williams Memorial CME Temple has been an important part of our family. I just hope that we continue to be an active and integral part of the ministries here. That's my hope and prayer for us going forward.
But are we willing to devote ourselves, give up our own ideas, our own will to help somebody else the way God wants us to do it?
It was hard, I will say that right now, because starting from Peabody, we were just getting into church. We just had got our name, so we were moving slowly but trying to move fast. So once we got here, this is like the real beginning for us.